And welcome back to Cat's Cast, the number one podcast for Andrew Lloyd Webber's magnum opus, Cats, which I saw over the weekend for the first time live. Now, longtime listeners of Western Kabuki will know that I am a deep fan of Cats, unless better heads have prevailed and it's all been edited out. Well, guess what? This is the intro, and it's not getting edited out. Whack saw Cats this weekend, and it changed my life. I'm a different man now. So you guys will all refer to me now as Mungo Jerry, and joined by my own personal Rumble teaser is Caleb at the Bird Respector. Caleb, how are we doing?
Fantastic.
That's goddamned right. And you guys heard his voice. Caleb, can we hear it again?
Fantastic. Check.
So you're not gonna get us confused. And
oh, that's right.
We've heard your cries. We've heard them, and you're not gonna get us confused because the brilliant, beautiful, and lovely glamour cat Grisabella Juniper. How we doing, Grisabella?
I'm doing great.
Hell yes, Benjamin. We are joined by Ben.
Hi.
Fuck, I didn't ask. Ben, how do you want to be introduced? We're going to ask you now. Put it on the recording.
Oh, yeah. I mean, however you want to introduce me. Benjamin is great. It's very, very maternal vibes. But yeah, I'm a reporter at NBC News.
Senior reporter? Is it senior journalist, senior editor? What is your
reporter,
title?
Yeah.
Senior reporter at NBC News. Ben, how we doing?
Wonderful. And I've never actually seen Cats, but I've read the Wikipedia page, and it seems not real.
I've got to say about Cats that the Wikipedia page, I think, is a really important place for all of us to start. If you read the Wikipedia page for Cats, and then you read the Wikipedia page for T.S. Eliot's Poems for Practical Cats that the musical Cats is based off of, I think we'll all get a pretty good baseline to sort of start talking about the Christ allegory and the classism element. So first, I want to talk about Bustopher Jones because he's a delicate balance between class and that sort of everyman of being like an overweight cat. He's a 25-pounder, though, as we all know, he is a bounder, and I really want to sort of get into Bustopher first, and that'll bring us into Rum Tum Tugger, and then we can sort of talk about some of those ancillary cats. We're talking Skimble Shanks, we're talking Tumble Brutus. Obviously, we're not going to talk about cats, but I did see.
You had me worried for a second. I was like,
I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, I saw Cats this weekend, and I really want it known how much I love Cats. It started as ironic, but as all things that do, it's no longer ironic. It's brilliant, and my wife, who's a big musical person, we left on Saturday to go see a matinee at the Philadelphia Miller Theater in Philadelphia, and yeah, my wife left, and she's like, I don't know how to say this, but I think it is Andrew Lloyd Webber's best play. Better than Phantom of the Opera, better than Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, better than Jesus Christ Superstar.
Let's not get out of hand here. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera was the soundtrack that my mom used to put on the tape deck on her shitty old truck when she drove us to school. So
when my mom did that, it was Rent.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
So that's the big difference.
Yeah,
that's the big difference between. Well. Yeah, that's the big difference between me and Bird Respector is that...
now you'll be able to tell our voices apart, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Hey, his mom is the one who played the nice musical, and my mom is the one who got high on meth and lost her virginity to her own physics teacher. So you can sort of see the... All right, we aren't here to talk about Cats or my mother's virginity. We are here to talk.
Can we talk about cassette tapes in like old Dodge Caravans? Because I have several stories basically.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, and if you want to talk cats too, that's up to you, Ben.
Yeah, I just don't. I simply don't know enough. All I remember is Bomble Arena. Is that? I heard some great.
Yeah, look at this guy. Look at this guy knowing Bomble Arena. She's not in the musical, so that's a real deep cut, bro.
Just throwing it down. I think I used it as like a fake screen name. If that's all. Cassette tapes. first of all, my mom's Dodge Caravan, which is like the shittiest car that was ever purchased by anyone, came with a cassette tape that had like Michael Jackson songs on it. And I kept thinking, I'm like, this is like a quarter of the cost of the car. Secondly, more importantly, my uncle once, a very nice man, he was like in a deep, he was a deeply like cartoonishly alcoholic when I was very young. It was very sad. Rest in peace. But he did the sweetest thing a person has ever done for me. He was completely broke. And at 4 years old, I believe, he took Green Day's Dookie and tried to bleep out all the swears in it with like 5 seconds of silence. Just America's sweetest thing that anyone has ever done for somebody who was 4 years old. And it was really good. There were still things still slipped through. But that's that was the American like Dodge Caravan tape culture that we all lived in. And now we just steal 100 gags from the internet.
Yeah, for those of you that were born in a year beginning with a 2, first of all, I'm not sorry for what I said about Shrek. Shrek is bad. That's number 1. Number 2, music used to be quite expensive. It used to cost a lot of money to own music. So when Ben says he could not afford the tape, that is because the tape was an exorbitantly expensive product to own.
So I didn't grow up during tapes. Like how much were tapes back then?
About the same. I would say they were like what, $13, and CDs were like 17. Right?
So if it was a Michael Jackson, it would be 13, like mass produced type of stuff. But like if you wanted to get like, I mean, literally like even Nirvana, and you guys might think of Nirvana as being like the biggest band ever, but buying a Nirvana tape in 2001, yes, we had tapes in 2001. Buying a Nirvana tape in 2001 could have run you like $50.
Jesus,
it was crazy. And they were just like ridiculous technology. You couldn't like skip through. You didn't really know which song you were on. You would just press fast forward for a while.
And then your fucking tape player would break and there was nothing doing for it. You would need a professional to service that machine.
It was completely stupid. I'm glad that we had to explain cassette tapes and cats at the beginning.
Welcome to Western Kabuki. And I got to say about the very philosophy of Western Kabuki, we haven't really nailed it since phase 2, but for those of you who aren't familiar, Western Kabuki is a notion that is sort of adopted by Nicolas Cage as an actor, and the idea is a celebration of the ridiculous while also trying your best. And I really can't think of a better distillation of that philosophy than the musical Cats by Andrew Lloyd Webber. And I'm very enthused.
Yet you hate Shrek.
Yeah, what is this? This is inconsistent. I'm going to debate bro you about this.
All right, I'm going to talk about Shrek. I'll talk about Shrek.
No.
I'll talk about Shrek
We'll have a
Trump.
Shrek debate.
Well, yeah. The only thing I don't like about Shrek is it's not as good as this. So this post was like, you got to pick one and the other ones are gone forever.
Yeah.
And
I hate those posts, by the way.
I hate them too.
Always a trap.
It's always a trap. A guy I really like. So it was 4 like franchises of animated movies. And it was Toy Story, Kung Fu Panda, the Lego Movie, and Shrek. And a friend of mine online, and I respect his opinion, I don't hate him for saying this, but he said, imagine picking the Lego Movie. And I was like, the Lego Movie, my first thought was the Lego Movie is better than Kung Fu Panda. My second thought was Kung Fu Panda is legitimately better than Shrek. And I was like, the Zoomers are going to lose their goddamn minds if I insult Shrek, so I will do it. And I did it. And so I retweeted the guy who said, imagine keeping the Lego Movie. And then I tweeted, imagine keeping Shrek. And all these people are like, Shrek told me I was trans and that it was okay to be different. And I was
Shrek
like, bro.
Clears. Shrek clears. It clears Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, you say that, but watch the first Shrek movie. Count the number of jokes and then subtract the number of fart jokes and the number of musical scenes and tell me how fucking funny that movie is.
I'll rewatch it.
Anyway, Ben, Ben, we're here to talk about Donald Trump, and he wasn't arrested today. So I got to ask, Ben, why didn't you not arrest him?
First of all, really good question. Really good. He's far away. First of all, that's the number one thing. No, I mean we are all. We've all taken his word for it that he's going to get arrested. Like that's what's happening. Every member of the media that I've ever met is down at Manhattan Criminal Court waiting for him to get perp walked, and it's just because like on Truth Social this weekend he was like getting arrested on Tuesday, and that's the amount of information we have so far. And it's right now it's Wednesday as we're taping this, so I don't know exactly where this is headed. Allegedly, the grand jury is reconvening on Thursday, and that might reduce charges.
They were supposed to meet today, but we don't know why they didn't.
Yeah, we don't know why they didn't.
We're gonna say, because I don't know when we can get this out. We're recording this on Wednesday evening,
yeah.
Wednesday night, 9 o'clock on Eastern time. So, if he gets arrested while we're recording this, we may miss that, and so we apologize.
Oh no, I'm F5 in Twitter.
The world will know instantly if he gets arrested. Yeah. But no, you're so right about that. Like he posted about it. Like, when has he ever said anything truthful? Why did we just completely believe him like right away? I think we just all wanted it so bad. I mean, it's so funny to think about.
I think everyone assumed that he had like cut some sort of deal, or his lawyers were like, well, if you don't, if he'll surrender, if he does this thing or whatever. But it may have just been him just saying that. Like, at the end of the day, it may have just been him just like, I guess this sounds about right to me. Because news had already broken earlier in the week that it was soon. Something was going to happen probably this week at some point. And he may have just been guessing. Like, we don't know. We have no idea. We are, once again, we've fallen into the trap of just being like, yes, it sounds great. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Perfect. So we will, we're just still kind of waiting on pins and needles. And when I was down there, I went to Manhattan Criminal Court yesterday to see this protest that was.
Oh, hell yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I would love to hear about that.
Yeah. It was the New York Young Republicans Club. And everyone is very hyped up about this right now in the news media. They're trying to figure out where the protests are and where all these things are happening. So early in the day, I started to see flyers going around Telegram from that club. And you had to sign up for an email list to even get the location of the thing. And no one was doing it. Everyone knew that email list you're just going to get weird, like boner pill ads for the rest of your life. So eventually, I would say maybe an hour before the actual rally started, they send it, and it's exactly where you think it is. It's directly across the street from Manhattan Criminal Court at this place called Collect Pond Park. So I show up there, and when I get there, there's a good amount of press and like a dozen people. There's a man putting on a rat costume. He's like getting ready to put it on.
I saw Rat Boy, yeah.
Yeah, it says Democrats, rhinos, criminals, but rhino is spelled like the animal, not like Republican in name only. So,
that's awesome.
That's so with the H, it's Republican heathens in name only.
Go.
They're
nice. I like that. That's
They've adapted.
Yeah, so that was the vibe. There was a guy next to him with a Hank Fauci guitar.
Awesome.
Walking around. And it was nothing. It was literally nothing. I went down there, and even I expected there to be maybe, at least 36 people, and it wasn't that. So I was just down there waiting for something to pop off, and I think the whole media was too. And they're just afraid. Trump supporters right now are really, they're afraid twofold, right? They still think that January 6th was a trap by the feds. And that it didn't really happen, or the people who went in there were sort of egged on by Antifa to like defecate in the hallway. I actually don't really know how that works. But that's what they think for that. And they also still kind of think a lot of people who are Trump fans still kind of think New York City is on fire.
Oh yeah, they're terrified of it.
They're very, very scared of the idea of going into a city because they think you're just like constantly. They think it's like they live. I think you're walking around like in Roddy Piper in the background, and it's just not the case. So
that's my favorite type of post from right wingers, where they're like, the libs cry about everything, and then like their next post is like a picture of Chicago and them just like crying about like people just being outside. Like those are my favorite types of people.
Did you see that post this week of the guy who saw a bunch of he thought was hypodermic
needles?
Yes. Yes.
One of the best posts.
Oh my God.
Quite a while.
It was gel flow shots.
Yeah. So Ben, we are working on, and this very well may be our next episode, but we are working on so people did it last year, like the worst posts on Twitter of the year. But we are doing a worst posts by quarter, and the month of March is almost done. So we should think about
March has been busy, by the way.
The whole 3 months of the past like January 1st, there were like 6 posts that is like, this person is totally disconnected from reality, but normal people are too excited to hang out with their families. So they
this is the best part about Twitter, though, is there are just some of the wildest people you could ever imagine. Like, you can't even imagine these people.
You can't.
They just appear. They're here. Yeah, you cannot guess.
You can't be like. The problem is nobody gets that sort of balance of like schizo with sincerity correct. You know, they're like, well, what about the babies and the underground bases? And it's like, no. They don't introduce the what about the babies and the underground bases in the same post.
The mole children come later.
Yeah. So it's like it's a craft. It's a building.
It is.
No one gets it except for those guys. And that's why we have to let them do it and then ridicule them. Because trying to guess what they're going to do, we can't. We can say, whatever crazy shit we want. That like literally whatever. That Reba McEntire has replaced Donald Trump and that she is going to be the next president. And a significant portion of this country will vote for Donald Trump believing they are voting for Reba McEntire.
It's the beauty of the modern world, isn't it?
It is.
But going back to the the whole Antifa being the real people that did the January 6th, I saw a bunch of my right-wing family like about a month ago now. Like both sides of my family, like one side is like really conservative and the other side is like generally more like liberal. And I see the like more liberal side more often just because they're closer by. But my conservative family I saw, and politics came up, and I asked them what they thought about Trump running again, and pretty much the only person that is like all on board, which I find interesting, all on board with Trump, is my dad. Pretty much everyone else that did vote for Trump is like, nah, like January 6th was bad, like it was a bad look for us. I hope Ron DeSantis runs. So it's like kind of interesting.
Yeah, Gene, I think what's really interesting, and I keep trying to stress this, is that there is a kind of extremely online that exists with conservatives where they're so online they literally don't see the outside world, right? They're like in their own fandom sphere and they don't see outside of it. And like the January 6th alternative universe is part of that, right?
Yeah.
Where Ray Epps, they have this guy named Ray Epps who they believe is an ex-FBI informant.
Yeah, I'm a big Ray head over here.
Yeah, told 10,000 people or whatever, however many people were there to go from the ellipse down to the Capitol. And that's it. That explains the whole thing. One man was like, go down there and just ransack Nancy Pelosi's office and try to capture and kill Mike Pence.
Imagine your whole entire defense for that being like, well, sir, an older boy told me to do it. Like what you just like are completely impervious to critical thought and you just did what some random person yelled at you to do. Like that's your defense. It's amazing.
Yeah, that is the defense, actually. That's literally that's what they decided on. And some people, they're like, they live in this duality where they're like, we're proud of this. We're proud that we did it. But also, Antifa man told me to do it. The Antifa super soldier, who's dressed up like a mech warrior, came over and told me.
And that's been the funny thing is, just because how I think Tucker Carlson did this whole like actually January 6th wasn't that bad. And it's been funny watching people kind of turn around and be like, actually everyone at January 6th was okay and everything was like all above board and no one did anything wrong. It's like the fact that they can just like completely, I don't know, change their tune that fast is really funny to me. I didn't really look into the footage that Tucker aired or anything. I didn't really care.
Heavily doctored,
but I'm sure. But just watching that discourse play out on the right, because I love watching right-wing discourse. It's really funny to me, and that in particular was really funny. Like two leading the way, being like, actually January 6th, yeah, January 6th was actually based now.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Do you remember that Onion counterpoint? Weirdly enough, this was written 20 years ago on Sunday. There is a Onion point counterpoint, and
yes, 100%, 100%. I remember this.
It's about the Iraq War. This war will destabilize the entire Mideast region and set off a shockwave of anti-Americanism versus no, it won't.
One of the best Onion articles of all time.
A classic.
Basically, that's where we're at with this. It's just like this thing that you saw with your own eyes when you turned on TV that day actually happened versus no, it didn't. We never. And that's really what it's come down to at this point. Just like they're just hoping you just forget about it. And we might. It's America. We might do that.
Okay, so I want to roll right into a question here for you, Ben, and I'm just kind of curious. So I've been sort of watching, not closely, but been watching Trump's Truth Social. What do you think about like just as a guy who working for NBC News and other outlets has been forced to familiarize yourself with Trump world, do you think Trump wrote those tweets?
His Truth Social posts recently?
Yeah, the ones calling for the arrest and the riots and all that.
Oh, good question. The ones where he's calling for protests, right? The ones from over the weekend.
Yeah, that run on like Sunday, Monday.
You know what? Honestly, I didn't even consider that it wouldn't have been him. I do think he probably did. He may have had a little help. You're right that like now that I look back at it syntactically, it's a little different. But I think he probably did. It's pretty all capsy, which means usually generally it's him. But I have like I have like a PhD in like trying to figure out which of these is like Dan Scavino.
Right.
And, this might be a test that I've failed. Do you think it was
a couple of the words misspelled and stuff too? That's usually a
stolen, STOLLEN. That's it.
Yeah.
So my thought on like did Trump write them or not? I'm leaning toward no, that he didn't write them.
Why though? Like why wouldn't it be him? Like that's the most Trump.
No, it's not probable deniability. I think Trump is not interested in probable deniability. I think what he's interested in is like the base is like getting them fired up. And I legitimately think Trump doesn't have that kind of juice. And yeah, Scavino's obviously the first guy you would look at, but like we know that Bannon is in Europe. We know that Gorka isn't involved with Trump right now. So for me, it's about like what kind of weird little creep that we already know about is sort of in his orbit, is his worm tongue right now. And like we haven't heard fucking anything from Stephen Miller. And I kind of wonder to what degree is Trump putting these posts out versus like what are the goals of Trump's team? Do they want him to run from jail or do they want him to run as the real based guy instead of Ron DeSantis being the based guy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't know who's around because like I think who was around when he did the Nick Fuentes meeting is probably different now. I think he clearly saw that.
Yeah.
He really couldn't go all the way down that path. And I also do think if you read the people who are generally the access people around him, at the Times and stuff, you can see that they are of two minds with this. He thinks it's all a big charade in a game where he goes and gets booked and does, gets perp walked, and he wants to be handcuffed and all this stuff. These are the things that he's saying internally, but that's also a really dangerous game. So like the people who are around him who realize, optically that might make you look cool, to like the most hardcore parts of your base might make you look victimized. At the end of the day, it's really hard to vote for a guy whose last mental picture is him in handcuffs, right? So that like I don't know really who is, I don't know who's at the wheel in terms of guidance at this point, but it may just be pure aid. I mean, really, the way he's leaning into it recently, it seems like it's more him than anybody else. Because I know a definitive non-Trump post when I see one.
Yeah.
And these recent ones where he's just like telling people to protest, that sounds pretty on the nose.
So that's why
everything I've seen from his Truth Social recently has been like peak Donald Trump, like his attacks on Ron DeSantis, his posts like for the past few days about
a gay pedophile, or he implied, excuse me.
He did imply that, yeah. And then he called him like Rob or something today. I don't know.
Honestly, getting someone's name wrong is a classic bully move, and I respect that so hard.
Yeah, like that's why I think all of this has to be Trump, right? Like it's just all like perfectly as deranged as you would expect from this guy.
Yeah, I also think. By the way, the Rob thing it's a good bit. Good. So look at that.
I hope he sticks
I think
with that.
And I do think like people thinking he's gonna like settle on one name for him. I mean, if he's all over the place, it's much funnier. Like if he's just like Rob de Sanctimonious, and then like Ron gets down to like just a beach or a ball or something. Like there's a lot of variations you can work with here.
It's got to be Meatball Rob the
We can synthesize
the sandwich.
We can synthesize these.
Sandwich is a good one.
Sandwich.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Donald Trump, we got it for you.
Yeah, there you go.
They should, going back to the housekeeping episode, the Republicans really should hire us to do some work for them.
We could really help their propaganda.
And frankly, we're available.
It wouldn't take that much money.
I do think, by the way, I want to, this is kind of a hot take, and this is a good place for it probably, but I think there are times where if it really is just him and DeSantis, I think Trump is going to come off as relatively socially moderate about some of this stuff that he just doesn't care about, because he's very focused on his own personal stuff and January 6th and all these things. And the deep state and all this stuff. And he's going to go up there, and Ron DeSantis is going to be talking about like wokeness and trans people. He's going to be like, yeah, sounds bad. Anyways, so the political persecution. Also, he's going to go in a completely direction, and it might like defang the power of that sort of thing. But we're a ways away, obviously, and it's also it's even worse if he's in jail when he's doing it. So.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, for me, it's like, and I'm sorry, I introed this with a 3-minute intro about cats, but I'm going to ask a serious question. For me, it's a really weird balancing act between Trump and DeSantis, where and I've been watching them, the different speeches and stuff they've given the past week, and DeSantis being like, well, that may be true if you pay off a porn star for hush money, but I've never done that. And then Trump is like, well, maybe he's gay or whatever. But like, when I watch these guys do this stuff, for me, I'm kind of like, Ron DeSantis does not know what the normies like, and Trump has made a career out of knowing what the normies like.
Right.
And it's hard for me to watch Ron DeSantis make like the flags where he signed a gas oven where like 1% of gas or 1% of like ovens in Florida are gas. And it's like, Ron is chasing this like petty culture war bullshit, but Trump is
finger on the pulse.
You say that. I would say he is good at exactly one thing, and it is knowing what people like. Like, it's not a finger on the pulse. He just knows what will get a response. And for all the juice that Ron DeSantis has, he should not leave Florida. I think national politics is a fucking mistake for him. He is cooking the press pool in Florida. Why would he want to go to Washington with real journalists? Why would he ever want to do that?
Are there?
Maybe a couple, maybe like one or two.
Ben, no. The answer is no. There are not. But the point is that there are people who pretend to be real journalists that may ask him questions. And I don't think Ron is going to pick somebody that can really do the shit he needs to get done.
Well, part of the issue with Ron DeSantis is like he has been the primary projection vehicle for not Trump for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's going to have to show up in the flesh and be a human political candidate. And that's going to be an issue because sometimes there are, the base is divided on various different issues and how vociferously they should be into various different issues. For example, like a lot of his base is anti-vax, but a lot of these people took the vaccine and don't want to be told like some of the insane anti-vax stuff that's going out there. Like I'm doing a longer story on Died Suddenly, which is this big anti-vax documentary right now.
Oh yeah, I'm fascinated by that. I'm gonna read that. I've been watching Died Suddenly for like months now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, like Ben. Are you doing it on the? Are you doing on the hashtags or on the specific documentary?
On the movie that.
On the movie,
and also like people around it, right? But like a big part of it right now is people aren't dying, right? People are not. They're just not dying. They're not dying of the vaccine. It's not happening. And the videos that they have for these things, this is a big part of what the story's about. Pretty much everybody in Died Suddenly who died is alive, and I just went to talk. So it was like it's not hard to find those people.
Oh my god!
But because of that, they are like shifting to weird stuff. So there's this guy Stu Peters, his name is actually Stu Peters, which is going to be funny in a second once you figure out what the story's about. He is the producer of Died Suddenly, and he has recently shifted to saying that people who got the vaccine, their penises are rotting off of their bodies because the people are not croaking. So he's saying that they are just rotting off. Like that's the terminology he's been using. And I'm pretty sure we would have heard about this.
So you're telling me that in my early 30s, my penis should not be rotting off?
Yeah, we probably should have talked about that. Is anybody's penis? That's the issue, though, right? Is that like half of the base thinks if you got the vaccine, your penis is rotting off, and the other half of the base got the vaccine, so they go to work, and they don't want to be like the penis rotting off guy. And once he has to take an actual lane there, it's really hard to split that difference. And I don't know how like Ron DeSantis can do it. And Trump, whether you like him or not, as a Republican, you at least know where he stands in the vaccine stuff. He's like, it was my vaccine, all this stuff. And he's not going to try to pander. He's just already out there with a formed message on it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good, interesting point, because you'd think that, especially because a lot of the base is anti-vax. Trump has never specifically been anti-vax. I did want to read this Truth Social post actually that Trump made addressing Ron DeSantis. If you don't mind me reading this really quick, just because we're talking about Truth Social and their feud currently. So Trump posted this about 3 hours ago. Now that Ron DeSanctimonious is finally admitting that he's in the race by beginning to fight back, and now that his polls have crashed, so he has no other choice, let me explain the facts. He is, for a Republican, an average governor. He got 1.2 million less votes in Florida than me. He fought for massive cuts in Social Security and Medicare, and wanted Social Security minimum age to be raised to 70 years old or more. He is a disciple of Paul Ryan and did whatever Ryan told him to do. Florida has been successful for many years, long before I put Ron there. It's amazing what Ocean and Sunshine will do. Surprise, Ron was a big lockdown governor on the China virus. That's always one thing he goes in on, though, is the China virus, of course. He sealed all the beaches, was the third worst in the nation for COVID deaths, third worst for total number of cases at 7.5 million, and other Republicans did much better, Trump is saying here. There's a lot more to this, but basically Trump is like really going in on a lot of like really specific issues, like the Social Security age. I just don't think Ron DeSantis has the juice at all for any of these attacks.
Yeah, and you can see that's a fully formed thought, right? Yeah. I was the president. I made this vaccine. The vaccine's good. China did this to us, and a bunch of cowardly governors tried to make everyone wear masks and close down all the stores, so you couldn't go to church and you couldn't you couldn't go to the Florida State game. Very easy message from Donald Trump. Whereas DeSantis is like, oh yeah, it's China's fault and the vaccine is good, but it's also bad. But I made people get it, but also it's just like it's too convoluted right now.
Yeah, and then he'll tie it to like trans people somehow.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It has to come back to culture war somehow. So that's the that's why I think it's a little bit like I think people are overthinking some stuff because Donald Trump is a world-known celebrity whose face is probably like the most recognizable face in the world. And Ron DeSantis is, as of right now, some guy who a lot of people have a lot of hopes riding on him being a specific person with specific thoughts, and they're not necessarily all one through line coherent ideology yet.
Yeah, to me, it's like it's this cycle's, or I feel like he's going to be this cycle's like Jeb Bush, where there's like a lot of like establishment type Republicans that don't really like Trump, kind of projecting their desire for like, in what of course in their minds is not reality, but like a reasonable Republican. I think that's kind of what they're hoping he'll be.
Yeah,
at least that's my take on it.
Yeah, that's where the polling is heading towards. Like Trump is really ramping up in the polls recently, which is fascinating considering what his next like 2 months will probably look like, which seems like just tons, like a mountain of legal trouble. So we are in for a wild ride. It was a completely different. This is the first time in our lifetime we're going to be going through maybe a guy headed to jail who is up in the polls.
Yeah. So that actually, I want to focus on that again really quick. So I feel like most people don't actually know why he's going to be going to jail. I guess like, why is he like being targeted right now? Why is he, well, targeted implies maybe it's not deserved, but why is he possibly going to jail?
There's several different cases. The first one is the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels, the porn star he had an affair with and paid off through Michael Cohen through a slush fund. Michael Cohen previously already went to jail for this and then, turned on Trump in the process. He's pretty standard resistance live guy now, as you probably know. But that happened while Donald Trump was in office, and there is some legal theory that makes it seem like you can't indict a sitting president. So that's all happening now, and that's happening in Manhattan. The Manhattan DA would be the person who brings charges, Alvin Bragg. So that's New York. That's one thing. Those are criminal charges. And then there's also another thing in New York where court was evacuated yesterday, on Tuesday, because Tish James, the New York State Attorney General, is suing the Trump organization for $250 million. So that's another thing he has. And then probably the biggest, everyone seems to think the biggest legal trouble that he's in is in Georgia for what he did after the election and trying to overturn the election. And allegedly there are RICO, which is basically organized crime and racketeering charges in Fulton County, Georgia, brought by that prosecutor. And the grand jury is already out. They're just trying to figure out like when to drop those charges, when that's going to happen. And allegedly those are coming in the next few weeks. Those are very, very serious. And like, I think people can easily make jokes about the Stormy Daniels thing and all this stuff. Like, it's a crime, but it seems like, it happened 7 years ago. All these things here, it's so long ago, right? The RICO stuff is real serious. If it is a thing that is something they can prove with documents and phone calls and all that stuff, which allegedly they have. And then on top of that, there is Jack Smith, who is the special prosecutor basically for the government, the DOJ, who's looking into everything else, basically everything involving January 6th and everything around the stolen election stuff, which who even knows when that's going to end or what's going to happen with that. That guy's like a big seat. I don't know if you've seen a picture of Jack Smith, but he looks like the most AI generated dude I've ever seen in my entire life.
Does he have 6 fingers? Does he have like 7 fingers or something too?
I would love to see if he has 6 fingers, because I've never seen a picture of his hands. Let's just put it that way. I've never seen it.
He might not be real. maybe that's part of the conspiracy.
It's so weird. There's something very uncanny valley about the guy, and the fact that his name's Jack Smith, like that doesn't really exist. I mean, they did this person does not exist.com like 3 times. Like, that's good enough.
My dad.
There's your legal trouble.
My dad,
on the internet, and everybody else. Yeah.
My dad was once tight with a guy named Jack Smith, and he ran the office fantasy football pool. And he also had a side hustle where he was like licensing vending machines to different small businesses like pizza parlors, ice skating rinks, that kind of thing. And my
Do you think it's the same Jack Smith?
My dad once said to him, "Bro, your name's Jack Smith and you run all the gambling stuff in the office. Are you like in witness protection from the mafia?" And the guy was like, "No, that's crazy. There's no such thing as the mafia. Let's move on."
Oh, this guy's awesome.
So shout out to any Jack Smiths out there for your various crimes. We love you for it.
Yeah, that's the kind of name that in Breaking Bad, the last season, that's like one of the names that you get when you try to disappear yourself at that vacuum store.
I do recommend Googling him though. And he's also like in every picture they have, he's wearing some sort of like purple robe.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna look him up right now. I don't know if I've ever seen him.
He's it's really weird. You'll see immediately. You're like, this guy's not real. I don't even know what it is. It's like I'm probably saying something like really offensive right now by not knowing what the purple robe is.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. It's kind of uncanny. Yeah.
I don't trust him.
What's especially weird is I feel like he hasn't gotten any play in like liberal media circles, and like like when these types of people get play, like Robert Mueller or like Fauci, it's like everyone's like posting after them, and it's like every lib account's like pining after this person, posting about how they're going to save the world. I haven't seen that for this guy yet.
No, like Jack Smith, She Wrote podcast.
Apparently, Stephen Colbert has compared him to General Zod from Superman 2. So that's what we've got going on.
Oh God,
it's not totally wrong.
I was gonna say he bears a strong resemblance to General Zod. This guy, especially in this old picture, I'm gonna post it in the chat here with him with all the rings. He's wearing like 8 rings. Bro, lose 3 of those rings, and we'll take you seriously.
It seems like the Late Show folks have been making jokes about him. Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel says he looks like a guy who'd sentenced Chewbacca to death, which I don't understand as a joke, really.
Yeah.
But
yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know. He does have a very stern look about him.
He does. I see the rings now that you're talking about.
How many rings does one man need? Yeah. One must surely think 3 is the maximum.
I do have a question though about there's a disconnect for me that I don't totally understand. So Donald Trump seems to be like still beating everybody handily in the polls, right? And in spite of sort of like mainstream Republican support for DeSantis, it doesn't seem like he's really getting a lot of traction. But what I don't understand is if that's the case, where are the fervent supporters? Is it just the ones that are willing to go out and cause a ruckus? Is it just their fear of another January 6th? Because
yeah. So there's a professional wrestling term called working yourselves into a shoot. It's like, getting high on your own supply. I think these people are so addicted to these conspiracy theories that everything is a Fed trap. And if you show support for Trump in public, if you're in a big city, they're going to throw you into a big white van or something. I really do think that's a big part of it. It's really hard for them to organize. I've been to a bunch of these different, pro-Trump things. And if it's marketed as pro-Trump or pro-January 6th or something, people don't show up. But if it's an anti-trans protest or something, or if it's even a drag queen story hour protest, that gets a lot more people willingly standing next to the Proud Boys even.
But but then that begs the question, how do you get the public support for someone to actually win the presidency if you can't get anybody to show up at any of their rallies?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think they have a really good guess here would be his next rally at Waco. He has a big rally scheduled for Waco. He's going to talk about all this stuff. We're going to see what happens. So people do kind of go to his rallies still. It's less so. It's more of like a barnstorming thing than an actual political event now. It's more of like it has this very old-timey feel. Not as many people show up, but it has to be on their own terms in their own, in their own like sort of rural areas and stuff like that too. This guy has a lot of soft support, and he has celebrity, right? And he has I think people have a memory of some people especially in the middle of the country have a memory of this country pre-pandemic that seems idyllic because it was pre-pandemic. And I think there's a lot of support for that because although it's removed from history and cause and all of those other things, people will in their brains maybe just associate with like, a $3 instead of an $8 box of Oreos with Donald Trump. And I think that, he was the last guy to have that. And until he's actually perp walked, they won't have this, he's gotten away with everything so far. They're not going to think that he's, they're just going to continue to think he's Teflon.
So you see power in the perp walk. You see that as a breaking point for not all of his supporters, of course, but that critical mass that could win him an election in 2024.
I think with his supporters, there are supporters who want that to make him look like he is this victim of law enforcement. And they want this as proof that all along he's been targeted by law enforcement, all this stuff. And they're going to simplify the narrative to be like, regardless of what happens in Georgia, they're just going to say like, oh, this is all over, the time he had sex with the porn star. So that's, and in their world, that whole thing where they are using a perp walk as positive political propaganda, that's going to happen in the Trump world.
Yeah.
But I think in like the actual, like in the larger populace, people are going to say that and be like, yikes. I don't know if he knows that. I think he thinks, since everything to him is like a victim narrative that kind of turns back towards things were stolen from me. I never really had a chance to do anything. Everyone hates me. That feeds that, but it does not feed his general electoral chances.
Yeah, that's kind of been my take with this the whole time, where it's like, I do think if he does get arrested, does the perp walk, the whole thing, I think that will really launch. I mean, his polls have been increasing for the last like 2 months or so. But I think I think him doing the perp walk, be like doing that narrative, the victim narrative, I think that'll pretty much guarantee that he wins the primary. I really do believe that. I think if they arrest him, he will be the nominee. But I think it's even more over for him in the general election. Like, throw him up against any Democrat, he would probably lose.
I think that is a perfect place to stop the free episode. If you would like to hear myself, Juniper, Caleb, and a senior reporter at NBC News speculate wildly about Trump's next 4 years, you can subscribe to us on Patreon. My name is Whack Nicholson. I'm joined by Juniper, Caleb. Ben, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at 1_ with 2 underscores after it. It was a great bit when I wrote it down, and ever since I've had to say it out loud, it's been a really rough ride.
So just to clarify, it's the words 1_
with 2 actual underscores
at the beginning or end.
Oh, they're at the end. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Follow me at Whack Nicholson. Follow our podcast at Western Kabuki. Follow my beautiful co-hosts at Juniper, but replace that I with a lowercase L, and Caleb at The Bird Respecter. Thank you for listening. We love you, and we would love you a little bit more if you paid us $5 to hear Ben really go off the rails, really test the limits of that opinions are my own in his bio.
We're gonna get him fired at NBC.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I have some pink dinner right at the ready. So
all right, let's fucking go. All right, so thank you so much for listening. We'll see you behind the paywall.